we'll start it off with Christopher Stock from Inside to You. Chris?
Yeah, Coach, over the bye week and this week in practice, is there something you're particularly encouraged by with your team, the way these last 2 weeks have gone for you?
I think the most encouraging thing was last week. Every day was designed to make them do a lot of things that they didn't like doing and that they wouldn't like doing, to see whether they would persevere through it. Some guys wouldn't be able to handle it. And I think the most pleasing thing is that how everybody, they sort of came together and they fought through all the stuff we put them through.
We'll go now to Cal Friedman from WVUM. Cal?
Thanks, Alex. Coach, both times you've played against Sam Howell, he's played particularly well against Miami, and this season he's been even better with his feet. What goes into slowing down a quarterback like Sam Howell?
You say that again, a little louder, please.
Sorry. What goes into stopping a quarterback like Sam Howell, who's so good with his arm, but also has shown that this last couple of weeks he's very good with his feet?
Yeah. What he's doing right now with his legs is really creating a problem because first of all, you've got to cover up what they're trying to do, and to me he's always been phenomenal throwing the deep ball. He's got such great command of the RPO game, and he's very accurate. And now, if you can take all that, try to take it all away and get him off his first look and have the play breakdown. Now he's running for first downs, which keeps him on schedule, keeps him out of negative plays. So he's the complete guy. The reason why he was the player of the year in our league, and I don't think he's done anything this year to suggest that he's not.
Going out to Susan Miller-Degnan from the Miami Herald. Susan?
Hi, Manny. You talked about explosive plays, I think, maybe on Monday for your defense. How many of those were run defense related? And then I also wanted to know about you watching, your team said they watched the end of the last year's North Carolina game yesterday, I guess, and what the reaction was and why you guys did that.
Say the first part again. What the explosive plays were due to what?
The run. You were talking about explosive plays being a problem against your defense, and I wanted to know how many of them were run defense related. That you saw, because I know that was a big problem last year.
Explosive in the run game. The difference between our explosive plays in the run game this year as opposed to last year is last year we were getting grinded pretty decent up front, and people were in this game in particular, people were they were moving us, and we weren't doing a good job of standing up at the point of attack. In my mind, we're much better at the point of attack this year than we were a year ago. Our explosive plays have more been either a leverage issue, a ball bounces to the outside and we don't leverage the ball back into our pursuits, those type things. They're all equally frustrating, but I do think physically at the point of attack, starting with our defensive line, I think we're better than what we were a year ago. The video you talked about, that was just something we do a scouting report meeting every week. It's only natural when you have a game like a year ago that's going to leave a taste in everybody's mouth. Anybody who was around that day, has to remember the pain that we felt in our performance and what happened that day.
Thank you.
Going now to David Lake from Inside the U. David.
Hey, Coach, wanted to ask you about guys who I didn't see out at practice yesterday, and if there's any status update with them. Mark Pope, D. Wiggins, Sam Brooks, Cody Brown, and Khalil Brantley.
The young guys are ill. We've got I guess on campus there's some virus that's been running through the dorms, and we've actually been dealing with that all week. I think we had over 10 guys not practice today. It's not coronavirus related, but there's something going on. Hopefully it won't affect anybody for Saturday for the game. In terms of the older guys, some of those status are still to be determined. I will tell you that certainly a storyline of this team has been with the expanded roster and the COVID year and those type things. And plus, as we mentioned, the recruiting and, all the questions that you had asked earlier in the year about the young guys getting more and more reps. without commenting on anybody in particular, you know, when older guys who, and some of who even have started, have had their roles change, that's hard, you know, and it's some guys accept that, some guys don't. That can create division in your locker room. That is a real live thing that we've had to deal with. I think coming off of the bye week, I think we're in a better place now. I think the realization of where we're at, and I don't mean I just mean just in terms of what the roles are. I think guys are starting to accept their roles a little bit better, and you know, and that's where it is going forward. So you know, not everybody that you mentioned is in the same boat with you know, with what their future is going to where their future is going to lie, but that's a real live thing. You know, it's difficult. It's difficult when guys are in their fourth year or in their fifth year and expect to do this and it doesn't happen. You know, it's tough.
Is there a chance those older guys might take a red shirt, or is that something that's not even been discussed?
Certainly that's a possibility. Yeah. I mean, there's like I said, there's multiple options now, which is different now because of everybody having that extra year. It's in addition, that's the other part that's kind of strange. So I'd say we're kind of in a different world with college football.
All right, we've got two hands up. We'll do these last two questions for Coach Tom D'Angelo and then Kobe Price. Tom, go ahead.
Hey, Manny. Manny, before I get to the question I was going to ask, just piggybacking on that. I know you had mentioned the division in the locker room was an issue your first year. Just stuff that went on. Were you concerned it would get to that point, or are you confident that whatever was going on with the players not playing has been taken care of?
Yeah, and let me think of a better word. Division, that's probably too harsh of a word, but there's certainly going to be disgruntled people, you know. It's tough. That's not the way college football is supposed to work, right? You know, you're supposed to come in young, you learn, then your role increases, and then it ends, suppose, you know, with a happy ending where you're a starter and you go on and play really well. And for most guys, that's kind of how it goes, but it's not for everybody. And it's not for everybody because of two reasons. One, because some of the recruiting classes we have brought in, but two, because we just have more older guys. You know, older guys are competing with older guys. Some guys would have already left the program. So it's not so much it's a division, but there's going to be guys that are going to be unhappy when their roles are reduced. You know, you expect one thing, and that's where all suffering comes from. You know, that's something we've had to navigate through. You know, and we, you know, everyone had to question how is this going to work out with you know, a team where you knew you'd have a bunch of older guys and you knew that you would have more guys that want to play than snaps where you want to play them. And like I said, I think we're in a better place mentally with that now than we were in September.
Our last question today for Coach Diaz comes from Kobe Price from the Sun Sentinel. Kobe.
Hey, Manny, kind of following up on the past couple questions about division disgruntledness, I guess what did you say to the team to make sure guys got back on the page that they needed to be on, whether it be the younger guys or the older guys? Well,
there were two things. There were some one-on-one conversations with some players, and then, like I said, last week was sort of the you're in or you're out week, and it's cool either way, you know. But going forward, you know, we can't have sad guys in the locker room because that energy just brings everybody down. Last year we were such a connected team a year ago, and our players experienced that when Miami is connected, which it hasn't always been. They saw the results. They saw how well that we played, and I don't think it's a secret that in September we just didn't quite have that same. When you just watch a team and it doesn't feel like the same type of, you know, intangible thing. It's hard to describe at times. That's normally where that comes from. And there was a lot to it. I mean, obviously the team had a lot of expectations. A lot of our players had a lot of expectations, and that's what, you know, the bye week was about. Hey, all that's gone now, and so there were some sit down one-on-one, say, look, if you're not happy with your role now, it's actually, if you don't raise your level of play, it's going to get worse. Because we're gonna have to move on. And I think some guys had some, you know, saw some hard truths. And like I said, it was a week where they had to grind through too much stuff that if your heart wasn't into it, you'd probably find your way out. And to that point, I'm proud of the guys that, as I mentioned in the first question, I'm proud of the way that the guys persevered through what we put them through.
And just a quick follow-up, were there any guys who, you say it was an in or out week, were there any guys who expressed maybe, you know, wanting to get out or wanting to communicate to you wanting to possibly get into the transfer portal?
We haven't had any of that yet, you know, but like I said, there's some individual cases that are ongoing right now that I'm not going to comment on. So There's some that will be back. There's some that probably won't. But that's what the focus this week has been on, the guys that we're going to go get ready to bring up to North Carolina on Saturday.